It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Muriah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Obiajulu in the building.
Morning.
How are you? Good to see you.
Amazing. I'm doing good.
How's your weekend?
Mary, I'm giving me one kind of eye.
Don't mind which kind of eye are you looking at?
I don't know.
Imagine that. Yeah, how are you though?
I'm doing
How's your weekend?
Because you look really pretty this morning.
With the Muriah braids.
With the Muriah braids.
She named braids after me. Oh,
Yeah.
cool, nice.
Because I sold out when you wore that.
Oh,
other
wow.
one.
Yeah, I love it when they sell out.
Yeah, so,
How are you?
My weekend was really packed. I had to do a photo shoot of my new products, the clothes, the hair.
I saw your little girl.
Yeah, so she's now our latest model.
I hope you're paying her.
I've launched out all the ice cream and pizza she's been having. I've launched out House of Busy Kids. So we have kids attires now. We're going to be having dresses, jumpers for boys and all of that. So it was really busy, working. Photo shoots. Sales. Everything is on sale, so...
Interesting. We thank God.
How are you doing, Chukwe?
I'm good. I'm grateful to God for life. Just calmly enjoying myself. Yesterday, one of my mentees, Marvelous, showed up and brought a photographer that she wanted to do photo shoots for me. I was like, okay, I didn't plan anything, so interesting. Let's see how it goes. It was nice. I was
Because you're a makeup
all
artist,
day.
you could just hook yourself up and just...
Well, I just feel like there's a lot of pressure around birthdays, like you have to do something, and I like to put myself under pressure. So this season, I'm just telling myself, I am giving YK this month. So let me
But the
chill.
minimum is a photo shoot. Everybody who's having a birthday, the minimum...
She did, but you know, I always do pictures regularly. So it's not a birthday thing. Every month I do a photo shoot. So this time I'd already done for the month, and we'll be fine. Let's thank God for life. So many things are happening around.
It's real.
Yes.
How are you doing, Mariam?
I'm doing fine, great. I had a very quiet weekend yesterday. On Saturday. I really enjoyed myself. My kids went off to my granddaughter's birthday. She turned 4. So they took the whole day out, and I was in the house, and I just realized I hadn't been, it was like no one was around. I was the only person, I realized I hadn't been that way in a very, very long time. Someone called me, I was like, so how are you doing? How is your day going? I said, it's so peaceful. I didn't realize how important it is to be just by yourself with just your thoughts. I really enjoyed that. Yes.
That's nice.
Completely quiet.
I love that.
And then when NEPA works, you know, it's better than when there's like generator sounds all in your ears. So I really enjoyed that.
My photographer was like, children. Like, they're always asking you questions every second. That children teach you patience.
Yes. Constantly asking you questions. Like, why did you blink? Why did you blink twice?
Answer the question. So they're thinking, okay, I got to answer this question. All
They're
right,
persistent. They'll wait for you. If you like, wait 10 years before you answer that question, they'll ask.
I'm doing well. You know, Friday was good. We have movie nights on Fridays. Saturday, I was in school as usual. My brother is around, so I went to visit him. Oh, my younger brother, we had an introduction for him in Abeokuta.
Oh.
Yeah, we went to meet our bride, introduce ourselves to the bride's family.
Is this the one we know?
The last one.
The bride we know.
Oh, before now. There's only one bride. So we went there, and I didn't go, but my brothers went, and the whole family was there. It was nice. Congratulations to him. He's just really very happy and chummy and ready to just sit down. You can just see the young boy just ready. He's ready. He's like, please, this thing I'm going to do it. I want my wife and go like, Uncle, calm down. There are stages to this. You do introduction, engagement, gradually.
So you are now like a veteran person, and like if they need advice, they'll come to you.
Of course. I am very available, and I will have my wife's back. Like I'll be like her big sister. That's good. But yeah, cool. So Sunday, just home doing stuff. Right, there's so much happening in the papers, guys. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Right, we're going to start with the Punch. Remove petrol subsidy. Economic Council tells Buhari and warns states. Picture here of the fire that got the Lagos church, Osun market, chairs, freezers, sewing machine destroyed. More Nigerians set to trade crypto despite CBN ban. Lagos orders probe as Nigerians tackle hospital over businesswoman call agent deaths. Church collapse, TB Joshua should have been charged. with carelessness, says Shoyinka. Don't take COVID-19 vaccination, Oyedepo tells winners worshippers. Forex COVID-19 forced 415 firms out of production, says Man. And trade deficit widens to $2.5 billion after border reopening. Okay, let's start with the fire. Who has the story here?
Yes, so an early morning fire gutted Redeemed Christian Church of God in Alapere area of Lagos State. And the fire started at about 6:30 a.m. and razed down the building, according to the reports, including the cars that were parked in the residence. So, the Lagos State Fire Service waded in and was able to put out the fire. But so far, there have not been any report on the cause of the fire. Also, in Osogbo, I think a very popular market in Osogbo, Igbona Market, Owode Igbona Market in Osogbo was also razed down by fire on the same Sunday morning. And they said it was a particular plaza that caught fire. They started seeing smoke on Saturday evening. And by the time they got there on Sunday, fire had razed down a lot of things, goods, millions, sewing machines, deep freezers, everything had been, razed down. And today we still do not have the cause of the fire. Yeah.
Okay, let me take the major headline. You have that story?
No.
The major headline. So the Presidential Economic Advisory Council have told the president for the umpteenth time, they and the rest of Nigerians have said they should remove subsidy. Interestingly, according to them, because subsidy is not been allocated for in the 2021 budget, the plan obviously was to let NNPC be the one to pay the subsidy. And they're saying if that happens, it's going to continue the insolvency of the states. So, and that's going to obviously affect economic growth within all the states. And they're saying that the president should categorically remove subsidy. I'm thinking to myself,
let's do it once and for all.
In fact,
okay, I have one more.
I'm tired of taking the subsidy stories.
Honestly,
and I think I'm not going to touch it again.
Or it's not there.
Until we know categorically. Because I'm tired of constantly saying the same thing over and over for many years. We've been talking about this for years. Remove, they've removed, remove, they've removed, remove, they've removed. And
the General Overseer of Living Faith Church, Bishop Oyedepo, has said that people should, his congregation should not take the COVID-19 vaccine because it's a ploy to kill Africans. He says that they had predicted this. Vaccinated had predicted that there will be corpses lying around all over Africa, and we can see that we have the least casualties. And he said that some people coming to church to give vaccine, for him, he sees it as an insult and as an assault because the church is a no-COVID zone as far as he's concerned. And he also recommended a shot of anointing oil as treatment or as protection from the virus.
Nigerian Tribune. Q1, 400 Nigerians murdered by Boko Haram bandits, Herdsmen says report. Panic in Onitsha as truckload of live bullets fall and spills its content. NDLA busts online drug trafficking cartel, arrest 5 in Abuja. At Awolowo's 34th memorial anniversary, politicians should not lie, make promises they won't fulfill, says Venerable Enike. Fitch affirms FBN Holdings ratings after the board replacement. That's good news for those of you that are subscribers. Preference for foreign currency, low forex inflow, heightened pressure on dollar. And Ibadan rice seizure. Don't start a war you can't finish. Senator warns customs. Which story are we taking in Tribune? Talk about, you have a story there?
Yes, so the forex. The money story has been consistent. The CBN is coming out again to say that the pressure of currency substitution is the term used, is putting Nigeria, that the Naira cannot appreciate in value because everybody is saving in foreign currency, and the forex substitution is making people's trust in the Naira weaker. Naira closed at 485 to $1, and this will continue to happen. So it's a case of preaching loyalty to the currency right now, like save your money in Naira, hold on to Naira, stop converting your money into dollars. I don't know who would listen to that, but
yeah. So, my favorite story is NDLA has busted another cartel, and this particular one is a 5-member cartel. So the sting operation was carried out on Friday, Saturday, and this was in Abuja. So what happens with this particular cartel is they sell this, it's an online group, it's an online shop where they sell these drug cookies, cakes, brownies, and other edibles. And then they have a person who, part of the cartel, there's a queen who does the selling of these baked goods. And then there's a person who does the selling of the drugs. And then there's someone who's in charge of the dispatch.
Yeah.
So he gets the orders and dispatches this drugged cookies to these people. NDLEA made the arrest. And, of course, the things that they seized from them, 55 pieces of drug cookies, brownies, 1.3 kilograms of skunk used as ingredients to make the cookies and brownies, ecstasy, molly, which is also known as molly, so many stuff. So, you know, I've been saying this since last week. We did not realize how mainstream, how just regular, normal this has become.
Just go around.
So you watch TV, you watch American news, and you hear that they sell their own on the streets, and it's allowed. And then even for them, it's even marijuana. It's not this skunk and all this loud and all these very very scary names that they're selling. So you mix this up and then you sell it to regular people. Some people are even unaware. I'm sure you know you go for parties and you find people put these things in drinks in snacks. So
this is really good
anyway. And the NDLEA is working so hard.
They're a business. They have this.
They
have oh my God.
Online. So the way House of BC is online is the way this is online now.
I really need to speak to the DG of NDLEA. It would be great to have a conversation with him because
see how we
just
can
to know what we can
raise awareness.
It's really pathetic. Let's speak on that story.
Yes, so in Anambra State, Oka Road, Onitsha, a truck that was conveying live bullets skidded off the road and fell into a ditch. And then all the bullets spilled on the road. This happened about 5 a.m. And the driver and the conductor sustained minor injuries, but they were able to put themselves together and started packing the live bullets back into the truck. But they couldn't finish before the police, heard of the accident, got there and caught them, though the conductor escaped, but the driver was arrested. So investigations are ongoing to find out where he's taking the bullets from and where he's headed to present that, because the truck was really loaded with live bullets. So residents in the area were really scared about that incident. All right,
I was going to take the story from the senator. So Senator Ayo Akinlere, who's leading the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, and he was approached by disgruntled women, market women, whose rice trucks were seized by the customs. And then he obviously tried to get the customs to return the rice to them, but there's been going back and forth between him and the customs. And he's insisting that the customs breached the Executive Order and Customs Act by actually seizing, saying that, because according to him, the Customs Act says you can only seize imported goods, contraband, and you cannot seize anything between 40 kilometers radius to the border. Well, they are saying, their own sting operation was backed by the Section 147 of the Customs and Excise Act, and further advised the Senate to restrict themselves from lawmaking, restrict themselves to lawmaking. So there's back and forth between the Customs and the Senator on this issue.
Yeah, the Senate argued it last week, saying that even if you want to carry out this sort of operations, you do it while the traders are in the market, so you don't get, because they usually do it at the early hours of the morning, and they were also accused of taking the cash. You know, some of the stores had physical cash left in their shops, that they had taken that as well. That's tantamount to stealing.
That's stealing.
Still keeping it within the Senate. The Senate's committee, these ones are overseeing the finance, and they discovered that 700 MDAs, 700 ministries, departments and agencies haven't remitted their funds, totaling up to 3 trillion. 3 trillion. And they've called on the Minister for Finance, Budget and Planning that we need to get MDAs to remit the fund according to the law. What they do is to appropriate the funds to sort out internal bills. And that is not the law. That if you get revenue for the government, remit the entire fund in accordance to the law, and everyone found culpable will now be investigated, and the law will take, prosecuted.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're moving on to Vanguard. Every part of Nigeria is bleeding, says Catholic bishops. Insecurity, troops on offensive in Benue, Taraba, and Nasarawa. CSOs call for protest, boycott of Democracy Day celebration. COVID-19, Buhari again cancels Salah homage to Villa. E-payment transactions in Q1 2021 rise 82% to 66 trillion naira. 10 fear dead as strange disease hits Kano, actually. Sanwo-Olu abandons Oshodi Apapa Expressway as road users lament plight. And I would have been an ex-convict, says Oshomole. All right, which story are we taking?
We do the Lagos traffic.
Bisi, go ahead, please.
Yes, so Lagos motorists are lamenting about the Oshodi Apapa Expressway gridlock that has been happening almost every day as a result of articulated vehicles parking indiscriminately on the roads. So they have complained that the Lagos State Special Traffic Enforcement Team has abandoned the road. They were actually set up by the state government to ensure that there was free flow of traffic. They are no longer there, according to the motorists. They said that the misconduct of policemen stationed close to the port, though the governor had said that he was going to report that issue to the IGP. They also complained that the electronic call-up system set up in February 2020 has collapsed because the truck drivers preferred to go through the normal way of bribing their ways through. And on Sunday, the gridlock was really, really massive. A lot of people were not able to, move around. A journey that would take them 10 minutes on a normal day took them about 4 hours. That place was really blocked, and there were no last man, no police. Only the street urchins were left to be robbing people and, extorting people.
We've heard this story. Like, same area, it hasn't really changed. It's the same story. Maybe they get for years. Yeah. So they've tried to use the e-call-up system, but for whatever reason, it has collapsed. Yeah. And I hope that the government is still doing what it can to bring some kind of sanity to that place. Let's talk about Kano
State. Yes. So 10 people have been reported dead from a yet to be identified disease. So this happened they said after fasting, a particular head of this family had just finished his fasting, and then he started throwing up and he had diarrhea, and in about 15 minutes he died. And this has happened to 10 more people. They have 50 more people in hospital in Minjibir local government in Kano State. They're suspecting it to be cholera, but they're not sure yet. They're isolated. They're giving them, basic treatments to just keep them, just keep them going. And so they're going to be looking into it. But this is we've had these stories, usually these pockets of unidentified diseases all over in the north, even in the south, just strange. And then we just never hear what it becomes. I remember there was a time when it was, when they said drinks, some vitamin C sort of drinks. We never heard what happened, if it was finally confirmed, if that was what it was. And this one, we're not sure if it's cholera or if it's one of those expired drinks as well. All right. We get to hear soon.
All right, so just the major headline, the Catholic bishops are really, really lamenting, the same lamentation many Nigerians are already having. But this was on the back of all the recent attacks. There was a policeman was shot dead when a police station in, I think it was the Michael Kiro police station in Umuahia here was burnt. There was other alleged herdsmen attack in Anambra, quite a number of other attacks. And the Catholic bishops came together and said, listen, Nigeria is on the brink of collapse, and unarmed, defenseless citizens are sacked from their communities and compelled to struggle for survival in internally displaced people's camps with little or no hope of ever returning back to their homes. Kidnapping for ransom has become rife, and it's almost like the country is helpless. So I think it's the same thing everybody is saying, but just that they're also lending their voice to the fact that insecurity in Nigeria has gotten to the point where we need quick, deliberate actions. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Banditry residents of Abuja suburb flee. Mbaka begs Catholic Church and Enugu Bishop. Inadequate funding of critical sectors fueling poverty and crime, says, do you use that as a Sun investigation? Anambra Airport for Commissioner July, says Obiano. Attacking security operatives leaves us vulnerable, says President. God won't forgive Buhari if Nigeria disintegrates, says Gani Adams. And resist tricks to disrupt peace development in Niger Deltas, NYCN urges. Which story are we taking, Miriam?
So
let me come to talk
okay, so I want to take the story. The presidency, speaking through his senior special assistant, Gabashewu, said that attacking security operatives leaves us vulnerable, saying that he doesn't understand the madness. That was the phrase he used going on around, that the security, if we attack institutions guarding us, who will protect us in the future when we have emergencies? That's simply the basis of the statement. He also mentioned during this release that the Eid al-Fitr celebration will be very low-key because of all that is happening within the season.
Let me just add to that, because I also took the story. He was specifically talking to the leaders of the community, saying that you should talk to the youth so that they are not used to incite violence. And he says that, you know, the part where he talked about the madness, he was talking about just the violence just across our country and how the youth should not allow themselves to be used as instruments to continue to perpetrate this violence.
Yeah, so the governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, has accused the banking sector, saying that because they have not supported the critical sector like agriculture, especially in the north, and that's one of the reasons the agricultural sector has been weakened, and we have issues like insurgency, banditry, unemployment, and all of that, kidnappings and all of that. So he's saying that in terms of poverty, the north has been rated the highest if you compare them to the other zones. And he's also saying that one of the issues that would not allow Nigeria to meet its sustainable development goals in 2020 is corruption, which cuts across whether it's the north, the south, the east. But he's appealing to the banking sector to ensure that they give loans, soft loans to these farmers that have the lands. They have the lands, they have the manpower to get into the agricultural business, to boost that economy. That will reduce the insurgency, the banditry in that area. Though the CBN had already stated that they had given 18 billion stimulus package and the 39 trillion loans to customers in the last 1 year. So they can extend it more to farmers in the north. That would help us.
So Father Mbaka publicly apologized to Bishop Onoga, especially for the unruly behavior of his members of Adoration Ministry. They had actually marched to destroy properties belonging to the bishop on May 5th when they thought that he was allegedly abducted or so.
On his knees.
And then so he went on his knees and apologized for their behavior. Just to be clear, he didn't apologize for his utterances because he's not. That's on the point. He apologized for the behavior of his members and said that was totally wrong, also. And he regretted their behavior.
No, he said he will comply. He will comply. The meeting was.
He told us.
Yes, he told us that
he had been called for a meeting concerning his utterances.
People just felt it disappeared.
Please don't take the Niger Delta story. So the Niger Delta, the National Youth Council of Nigeria has urged young people in Niger Delta not to resist the tricks of politicians to disrupt the peace in Niger Delta, saying that the reason people are complaining is because of the NDDC, and that the NDDC has already been audited, that the youths in Niger Delta should wait for the audit to take place, that people are inciting violence to disrupt the peace there because they have things to hide, that these politicians have collected contracts and they have skeletons in their cupboard, and so they are the ones that they want to disrupt the process. That every Niger Delta youth should wait and let the NDDC's forensic audit be completed, and we will now see those who are to blame for the lack of development going on within the society there.
Okay, moving on to The Guardian. There was a story that I thought caught my attention. The major headline says, weak consumer protection keeps cement prices high. Stop the bleeding carnage or resign, 127 CSOs tell Buhari. And you don't need foreign help to solve insecurity, South Korea advises Nigeria. Let me read that story. I thought it was quite interesting.
Please, let's hear.
So, so according to him, he said, listen, the problem with Nigeria, this is, let me find out the person that was speaking, the ambassador of South Korea to Nigeria, Kim Yong-chae, and he was speaking yesterday saying that security is a very sensitive issue, and what's happening with Nigeria is a family problem that we can deal with internally. We shouldn't have to bring in international intervention to help resolve the security. According to him, he said in South Korea, We have a very strong defense, which is rated number 6 in the world. The military is very dedicated, and there is little or no corruption in the system. The military is the center that holds the country together. If the military is corrupt, there's a high possibility that the whole country will be corrupt. So according to him, we need to retrain our military to be well-disciplined to be able to hold things together. But they will definitely partner with us for intelligence gathering and support the Nigerian defense. But most importantly, our issues are local, and also ensure that the only international intervention we need is to ensure those around us, our borders, that we are all in good, I think, good standing with countries.
So that brings me back to us solving our problems
ourselves.
We know where the problem is.
Localize the solutions.
Morayo, anyone in the real estate industry would tell you that the cement issue is a big deal. I don't think it's something we can just brush over in the newspaper review. It should be a let's talk where we resolve, because what the paper was talking about is the fact that we don't have proper monitoring, and that Nigerians are being exploited. The price of cement is the highest in West Africa, and we produce a lot of cement, but we're still paying so much for it. So I'd like us to dig more into that.
Okay, makes sense.
Are we good?
That's all we can take. Is there any other story we missed?
Yes, just a
ahead.
coalition of 127 CSOs, that's civil society organizations, that have petitioned the president to stop the escalation of insecurity. They called it Stop the Bleeding, End Carnage Now, or Resign. They are calling for the resignation of the president. They are asking all Nigerians to participate in a series of mass actions starting from May 26. Everybody should boycott the May 29 Democracy Day and protest for insecurity.
I thought they changed the Democracy Day to June 12. I don't know when I saw. I was wondering.
But
either way,
No, June 12th.
I don't know. Now, is it? Let me tell you something that I observed. A secular blogger who said something that had a religious coloring, and I was really disappointed. I actually wrote an epistle to say, like, well, how irresponsible
is this?
Why would you post something like this that is thwarted towards supporting and making the other religion look like they're killers, you know? So, but I then realized there could be actually an international, some kind of funding to disintegrate this country, because now I'm beginning to think that when people are constantly talking about insecurity, and there are people seeming to elements into fueling it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we just need to look at this thing further. It's really painful. I was really angry at that blogger. Anyway, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, the issue of medical negligence was what Nigerians are talking about all over the weekend. We'll discuss it after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the Lagos State government has requested for an investigation into an allegation of medical misconduct on a popular chef, I believe, late Mrs. Peju Ugboma, as a result of her husband putting out a complaint about medical negligence happened in a hospital. I will refrain from mentioning the name of the hospital at this time. But the story we have, I think, from Premium Times is the fact that this woman went into the hospital by herself, a pre-planned selective surgery, which was supposed to be on fibroid, and she had actually planned for it. And then at the time, after the surgery, she did complain of abdominal pains. And that happened, and then I think there was, at some point, they were giving her blood.
They were giving her blood. She got pints of blood the first time, second time, but they said it was based on the fact that she lost a lot of blood during the proceedings.
Yes.
And they had to now get, because she's a B+, they had to get a specific blood type for her. And she kept complaining of serious bleeding, eyes turned yellow. I think the husband had to call a family friend who is a medical doctor in the UK, who recommended the fact that there might be internal bleeding. And he raised the issue with the hospital, with the doctors that did the surgery, and according to him, they didn't pay attention to they ignored that it could be internal bleeding, to the point where she was almost like, she was almost gone, and then they transferred her to another hospital where they pronounced her dead on arrival.
I think it was from last week they got the confirmation that indeed there was, I think
there was an
autopsy
independent
was done, an independent autopsy was done to confirm indeed. But as I said, there are still allegations, but we will mention the word hospital right now because the Lagos State government has instructed for an investigation. But there's also a similar case that happened in Ogun State about an Amolara. Mariam, you have that story.
Yeah, so this lady, she was staff of Lasema and call agent, and she went to this hospital, Beachland Specialist Hospital in Ogun State. Her friend took her. She had a peptic ulcer, it says, and she was having difficulty breathing eventually. They finally got oxygen for her to use, but the hospital said they had only enough oxygen to last her 3 hours.
Wow.
And when it didn't look like she was getting any better, they transferred her to another hospital. But then they took her, put her into the car that would take her to the... So they didn't have an ambulance. The hospital didn't have an ambulance to take her to the next hospital. They asked the friend to get someone to take them there. They got someone who came at 2:30. They put her in the car, and then they took the oxygen away from her and told the driver of the car to drive fast. Jesus. By the time they got to the next hospital, she was pronounced dead by the time she got to the hospital.
So if we look at what is medical negligence, obviously, from definition, it's an improper, unskilled, or negligent treatment of a patient by a physician, dentist, nurse, or pharmacist. And failure to attend promptly to patient requiring urgent attention is also considered gross ineptitude on the part of the caregiver. So our focus today, as I said, it's a developing story. So when we talk about these kind of things, we try to bring in all the various parties. So we are yet to hear from the hospital. They've not made a public statement, so that's why we're still waiting for them to speak before we make this a full show about this. But we're discussing medical negligence across board because it's not a Nigerian problem. Medical negligence happens all over the world. Yeah. Many people have traveled to India, to US, where they had issues. People forgetting stuff in their abdomen and all that. Forgetting somebody forgot cotton buds. Somebody actually, the doctor forgot cotton buds. So these are things that we're familiar with, but sometimes it's quite painful when it's so close to home. When it hits home, it's a bit different. So, in your view, what are your initial thoughts about these stories, especially the one that happened the two that happened this weekend? And how do you think we can begin to address it? Now, this has gone on social media. Everybody's talking about it now. That's why we are talking about it today. But what do you think can be done to help prevent more of these kind of negligent and behavior from our caregivers?
I think it's a very scary story, especially when it hits home, when it comes close to, or it happens to somebody you know, or it happens to you. And I know that doctors are human beings. Nobody's above mistake. But when you're handling the lives of people, there's a humility you should have that would enable you listen to other consultants and understand if they are making sense, if it's something you can look into. There's nothing wrong if those doctors had taken that lady back into the theater just to be sure that there was no internal bleeding. But you know, like you have somebody abroad and here, me, that I'm here, I'm a professional, I've told you what is expected. So why are you calling, so you don't trust me? Why are you seeking for a second opinion? And then you carry on like that and you see how it results. And if at the end of the day, they find out that it was actually internal bleeding, you can be sued. So aside from the fact that we know that anybody can make mistakes, I think when it comes to people who are handling the lives and, you know, lives of people, you should take extra care. That's one. Secondly, the other story is not just an issue of negligence. It's an issue of infrastructure, no day. Oxygen, no reach. They try to manage the oxygen. So as we give you small, so carry and driver, run fast, so that this one go day for the next person. So there are two heavy issues here that if you can sort out our infrastructure, if you can equip our hospitals, we may not have the second issue. But the issue of negligence, I think everybody just needs to be careful.
Well, so, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, how we do one thing is how we do everything. As a society, we do not value life. And it's played out several times where a human being will walk with her 2 legs to the hospital, elected to do a surgery, and one mistake, one person did not do one thing right, cost the lives. But we tend to say that's how God wanted it to be. And that's another major problem we have. Yoruba will say, Amuwa Olorun ni. It doesn't happen without God's permission. And so we don't do autopsies, and we don't do investigations, and we don't do prosecutions. And these three things are how you check systems, because human beings will be lazy, we'll get like lackadaisicals. But when there are enough checks, if you do autopsy, if you do prosecution, if somebody dies in your hospital and you pay in such huge way, losing license, the hospital is meant to pay, there will be stiffer deterrence to that lackadaisical attitude that we might have.
Somewhere I read many years ago that in the U.S. it was in the 1950s was the last time they had death she died of natural causes, because they started checking that every single death must be checked. We must know why the person died. Don't just tell me, I'm alone. There's a reason why something happened. Miriam, your thoughts on this?
So the thing is, many times when we talk about negligence or people bring out situations where they may have faced negligence, medical negligence in hospitals, there's always like a backlash, like, okay, we're professionals, we're doing our job, and sometimes these things happen. Oh, you brought the person quite late, so by the time the patient was in our hospital, it was almost over, things like that. So it's almost always seen as if people are just coming for the medical institution. But sometimes I feel that if we can just step back a bit and just listen to the message, which is, let us just be careful on both sides. And if we demand more, more of the medical institutions, the medical personnel, if we demand them to be careful, they will in turn be careful. So this is what I mean. Instead of seeing it like, oh, they're attacking me, these people are going to ask questions. These people are going to want to know what happened. And so in carrying out my duty, I must make sure that I follow all the steps that I need to, so that when a time like this comes, I can defend it to, the best of my medical abilities, or, that I did my very best. The problem here is we have an attitude. We tend to have this attitude problem, which is you cannot question me. We complain about our politicians when we ask them questions. We see it in hospitals when we go to, you go to a person's office, you get that sort of attitude where do not question me, you don't know what I'm saying. So it's important that we put that aside and look at how to just be. It's a sad story.
I'll share my story of don't question me when we come back. After this break, stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So as I said earlier, this is a developing story. We're still waiting to hear from the hospital so we can have a proper, nice, robust show. But I think Chukwu said it earlier that one of the objectives of this conversation is to understand why people die and prosecute where there's an issue so that we can check these issues, because this will keep happening if hospitals don't get prosecuted for their actions. I was going to share a story when I found out that the doctor that birthed me was alive and still working in the same hospital where I was born, which is St. Nicholas at the time. And I was so excited, that, oh, yeah, so he let him also help me to birth my own child. So he did. And I was going to him for my antenatal, and it was nice. It was after I gave birth, I had a tear. So he sewed me up, and he really sewed me up, and I was in pain. I kept going back to him, sir, I'm in pain. Oh, you're okay, you'll be all right, you'll be all right. I kept going back here. This pain is not normal. This pain is not. I kept complaining for weeks. It now went on to about 2 months. I couldn't bear it anymore. I was managing and stressing myself. Someone now told me to go to another hospital in Surulere. I won't mention the name of the hospital. I went there. This doctor was supposed to be really, really good with new births and all that. So I went to him, and then he checked. He said, "Who did this to you?" Yeah. Oh my God, who did this to you? They sewed me up so tight. So he kept
nearly covered everything.
Covered everything. So he now started cutting up, and I was feeling relief. I was cutting up and cutting up and cutting up. I started feeling relief, and then I felt better. So I went back to the other man and said, sir, that pain, I saw a doctor in Surulere, and the man said, this is what happened. I said, hey, I was trying to help your husband now. Because after... And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's not as if he's negligent, but this is coming from the old school thing of, okay, let me sew you up.
Do you know, it's not actually old school. Do you know this is a complaint that they're having right now, where gynecologists think that they can help your husband by giving you, I think it's a husband stitch, or there's a name for it.
Really?
To help you be smaller again, so that it will make the other room better.
I was trying to help your husband. I say help my husband. My husband will tell you that he needed help. So these are the kind of things that happen.
But my issue is that you complained about your pain,
and you were not,
and it wasn't addressed. That was what happened with this case. She complained about feeling pain. It wasn't addressed. They got another person's expert opinion to say, what could this be? Check. It wasn't addressed. So I had my own medical negligence story, and it's a hospital you know. I've had 2 miscarriages before in my life, and one happened right here in TVC. It was terrible. Like, I was bleeding all over Akiade's floor. And so they had to rush me from TVC to the hospital. And when I got there, I'm like, okay, this is my second. I've had miscarriage before. I shouldn't feel this much pain when you're doing the evacuation. I was in serious pain. I was saying, it shouldn't be painful. They said, we've given you the injection. I said, but I'm still feeling the pain. Like, I'm already feeling pain before. You shouldn't put me in extra pain. So they gave me more injection. At the end of the operation, I could barely walk. You know, like, they didn't confirm that the anesthesia had taken effect before they started the surgery.
Oh, my father.
So it was I was feeling every pain.
I cannot even imagine that pain.
I told the doctor I was feeling pain, you know. So it was a case of, all right, we are done with the surgery. Prior for the next 3 months, I was bleeding.
Whoa.
Every day. So I went and I was saying that I shouldn't be. They said it's normal. After evacuation, you see. I said, no, but I've had one before. I did not bleed. And I went to another hospital, and they did an intravenous scan, and found there were still particles of the previous there. And so it was like, what's smelling? So it was a case of, if I did not check it in time, and we had to do another operation in another hospital, that's how somebody would have just gone. So medical negligence, when you complain, is seen as, no, it's a normal thing. You feel pain. Pain is normal. Or bleeding is normal. You don't check. Because you feel you are so good in your job, we don't check.
Let me take this call. CHUKWUEMEKA, are you there? CHUKWUEMEKA, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm calling from Ghana. My name is CHUKWUEMEKA.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So I had a similar, my wife had a similar case of what Dr. just narrated. In 2018, my wife was pregnant, almost 5 months. And we went to the hospital. The doctor checked my wife and said, oh my God, that you didn't do sacrilege. You're supposed to have done sacrilege, this and that. Meanwhile, she was not spotting. There was no blood. There was no blood. And you can't believe it. The next thing, the man gave my wife a tablet. And I asked him, what's the use of this tablet? He said, just for pain. You can't believe it. He took me outside while my wife took that just for pain. The next thing, she started spotting. Before you know, the water busted. I asked him, what happened? He said, I have to do that. That the baby was coming out. I said, what's spotting? He said he was going to raise her leg up. And that was what he told us immediately we entered. You can't believe it. And that was how we lost the baby. Then again, in 2019, she was pregnant again. This time around, I decided to go to a bigger hospital. If I mention the name, you'll be shocked. In Nigeria here, I paid so much. At the end of the day, the head of gynecology said, we're going to do sacrilege to your wife. And they did sacrilege. And at the end of the day, at 5 months plus, almost 6 months again, they gave her another injection again. She lost that baby again. We have to go back to that hospital. They removed the sacrilege, and my wife went through pain. I saw hell, see my wife going through that pain. From day to day, I refuse to allow my wife to conceive. So if you have any problem apart from malaria and typhoid in Nigeria, you're your own. All they do is they are messy. All the hospital did was to call me in one of their rooms and start to apologize and beg I shouldn't take action.
Thank you, CHUKWUEMEKA, for this story. I mean, I don't want to call it a Nigerian story.
Action.
There are procedures. There are procedures to doing some things. And if you fail to do it, you have to explain why you did not do it, how it came about. And then if other hospitals, doctors, practitioners are aware that these questions will be asked of them, they will do better. Like my mom, when I was going off to secondary school, you know, you were at boarding school, she would say, whenever you go to the hospital and they're going to give you any injection or any medicine, always ask the nurse, please, what exactly is this? So she said it's not because you're trying to tell off the nurse or tell her job. It's because it will also give that nurse the opportunity to look at what she's giving you one more time and be sure. So as she's reading it out to you, she says sometimes these people are tired. They've been up many hours at night. They think they're taking something. But when they stop and they're able to look through and ask, you know, and then they're able to tell you, it's better. And I noticed that as I grew older, the older nurses did it easily. You know, you'd ask them, please, how do, even before you'd ask, they'd say, I am about to give you this, how many meals? But the younger nurses that I came across, I'm not saying all of them, but some of the ones I came across, you would see almost irritation on their faces, like, why are you asking? You know?
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up on this, but I think the objective is to start the conversation. As we said, investigations are still ongoing, and we're going to keep monitoring this story in particular. And hopefully we're going to hear from the hospital, probably get somebody from the family to talk to us, and other people, so that we have a full understanding of what transpired, and then try to see what measure we can take to ensure it doesn't happen again. That's pretty much the objective of this conversation. That's all we can take. Thank you very much for those who have called in, for your contribution. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we move on to other hot topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So once in a while, we like to bring in eminent personalities to share with us their views on the state of the nation. So this morning, joining us on the show is the 12th primate of the African Church, Primate Julius Olayinka Osayade Abe. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
Today, he'll be sharing his views on issues of insecurity, restructuring, 2023 general elections, poverty, and unemployment in the country. You can join the conversation by calling us on 081-270-53687 and also 091-390-7698. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read your tweets. Lots of people, eminent personalities across the country have been expressing their views and thoughts on the issue of insecurity. And sometimes it's always good to hear various perspectives. I mean, even in the papers this morning, the Catholic bishops were saying that the country is bleeding. You know, many have said that we need to restructure. Others are saying we can't restructure at this time. In your view, what do you make of the issue of insecurity and what the country and what the government is doing to begin to help to curb and reduce this this huge problem we have in this country?
Yes, thank you very much. The issue of insecurity affects everybody, the young, the old, the rich, and the poor. Everybody is affected. So it's something that should be of importance to every one of us. That's why everybody is discussing it. That's why everybody is crying out that we are not safe in this country. And let's look at it. The way the whole thing is right now is really, really disturbing, because you can't really move from one place to another and feel secured. You can't do any business and feel secured about it, doing anything at all in this country. So it's so worrisome, so disturbing. And this is one of the issues that should be of great concern to the government, because when lives and property are not safe, are not secured, then what is the business of government? We should ask ourselves. So the government should take it as a priority.
Okay. Before I move to the ladies, people have complained about the involvement of bishops and religious leaders into the issue of politics. You know, what's the difference between church and state? People have criticized many notable men of God out there for getting involved in politics. Do you think you're supposed to be part of it, or you stay out of it?
We are Nigerians, and anything that happens in Nigeria affects everybody. You should feel concerned. So if you are not concerned, then, sorry, anything can happen. Then you don't have anybody to blame.
So we had someone who worked with DSS, used to work with the DSS, and he said to us that concerning the insecurity in our country, it's not really about the physical, like we see people bombing. It's also like what we do to each other, like the in the way what we say to each other, the sort of biases that we may have, you know, towards each other, and that is what may be fueling it. And sometimes we wonder if the church, you know, and the leaders of the church, is there a rhetoric that is there something that we say to our congregation, to our people, that is fueling this? In our own way, we think we may be protecting a particular sect, we may be protecting a particular people, but on the whole, it is fueling these differences and causing the violence that's happening amongst us.
Yes, the person you mentioned might be true. I'm saying the truth, that sometimes little things that we do or we say may precipitate this kind of violence that we have in our hands now. But at the same time, we are talking about these insecurity on a global scale, the way it is in Nigeria right now. Yes, I agree that as religious leaders, we have a duty, a responsibility to ensure that our followers, those who are under our administration, so to say, we make sure that we put them on the right track. Let them do what is right all the time. You know, say what is right all the time and think right all the time. These are some of the responsibilities that we have as religious leaders.
Let me try to rephrase what Mariam was saying also, because we've seen some religious leaders who have almost they actually almost incite their congregation to hate, to disrupt things that are happening based on their utterances. So the question, therefore, is that what can we do? Is that the right thing to do at this time? Because we've seen the role various religious bodies have played in the past years. In your view, do you think it's the right thing to do at this time?
Well, I may not say it's right or wrong, because these things are, you know, have to do with emotions. The people that are talking are emotional about it.
Right.
When they expect certain things to be done by government and they are not finding these things done,
right.
So they get enraged, they get, you know, disturbed, and oh, I think the best thing is to speak out. And maybe by the time the people concerned hear this, they will do the needful.
Okay, so I feel that Nigeria is one of the most religious countries in the world. Every leader, every governor is a member of one congregation or the other.
Yeah.
You know, our vice president is in one congregation. Our president is probably in another Muslim congregation, and that spreads across. So at the end of the day, the attacks have come to the Christendom, and the statements are like, we have churches at every street. We have churches 5 minutes walk from everybody, and yet, why don't we have holiness? Why don't we have selflessness? Why don't we have service as our culture when we have so many churches? So don't you think that rather than the religious leaders blaming the government, they should blame themselves, because they are the ones that are meant to entrench the right values into the congregation? They had charge of the congregation from when they were young till they grew up.
Okay. You see, I want us to look at it this way. Now, all of us should be grateful to God that we even have religious settings in this country. Nigeria is a very, very religious country, and we have religious people there. I want you to think otherwise. If, for instance, there is no religiosity, there is no church, there's no mosque, there's nowhere people can hear the words of God, I want you to just imagine if people are not having the opportunity of listening to the words of God, what the country will be if compared to what it is right now. So I know that, yes, there are some religious institutions or some religious bodies that are not doing it right. But at the same time, we have quite a number of churches and mosques that are really preaching the gospel, preaching the message to their congregation. And
Right.
If
Right.
I wanted to disagree with you there, but they will call me a pagan today, and I don't have any fight in me.
No.
But I want to ask you this question, because I know that even from the times of old, that's going back to the Old Testament, we had prophets who were speaking directly to the kings. They would hear from God, and they would speak to the kings. And I'm one of those people that believe that the religious leaders are not even doing enough when it comes to the country Nigeria. Okay. How best do you think that you can play in that field? How best do you think that you can advise our leaders to do what is right for and by Nigerians? How best do you think you can get involved in telling the truth and not just, collecting envelopes and they come and do Thanksgiving and when it's time for election, they come to church and everything? How best do you think we can start hearing you speak on behalf of the people of Nigeria?
You see, it is one thing to have religious bodies, organizations speaking the truth, advising the government or people in government. It's another thing for the people in government to have listening ears as well. You see, when you tell them what they need to know, what they need to do, and they refuse to, and they feel, oh, away with this man, he's not one of us. You see, that's where the problem is. So I think the religious organizations, the religious bodies are doing their best, although they could do more, they could do better.
All right, let's come to the issue of restructuring. Many people have, because part of the problem is it seems as if everybody is talking about regional autonomy here, resource control there, decentralization of power and all that. And people are just going on and on about these things. In your view, what are your thoughts on the issue of restructuring? Is it required, or must we stay as one and still have that central power? Or do you think Nigeria to begin to think of how we can change our system of government?
The problem this country is having today, emanates from the Constitution. If the Constitution is refined, so to say, and it is rewritten, I'm sure all these things will be taken care of. You see, it's better for us to, in my own view, for us to be together as a country, but to devolve powers to the different regions so that they can develop at their own pace. We have practiced it in the past, and it worked. And I believe strongly that if we do it again, it will work.
Well, let me take it to the cases where we have the governors have power within their own states, and we've had some governors use the power well. We might not like we might not be pleased with the entirety of how it was deployed, but there's been development in some states. And then you see some states that it seems that the governors are bereft of ideas. Now, if you give more power to such people to manage resources and all of that, what would be would it get any better? Because they already have capacity to manage the one they have, and they haven't done well with it.
You see, when we say restructuring, power goes to the grassroots. To the grassroots. The local government should be empowered more. When the local government are empowered more, then you have a better feel of this governance amongst the people, because they are closer to the people. I'm not talking of the states now, but to the grassroots.
Yeah, so I know that we've heard, not that I know, we've heard in the papers, there are different groups that want to divide from Nigeria's secession. And there are different factions talking about it because somehow they feel marginalized. Now, what do you think the federal government can do to bring everybody together? So it's one thing to say we are stronger united. It's another thing to show that we are really united. So what do you think the federal government can start doing to help settle the other parts that feel they have been marginalized so that they can stay?
Yes, it's very simple. I think there was a time we had a referendum where people came together to express their views on how this country should be governed. and the papers are there, the reports are there, the government should go back to those reports and act accordingly. I'm sure if they do this, they will address the yearnings of everyone agitating for secession or separation or whatever.
Sir, with all that we're going through, the violence, there's an arm of this violence, which is the kidnapping and banditry, where they're taking children and they are demanding money for them. Many people have given excuses for it. Oh, it's our government. We are poor. We don't have work. And it's as if there's a hunger for wealth that you do not earn, you know. And for me, I like to look at it from before it became this way. What was the church saying? What were we teaching our children when they would come to church? What was the church celebrating? Who were the sort of people that were celebrating, that people are looking up to? How did we bring Nigerians to the point where money, however you make it, is important, given that we have the leaders, the religions that we have? How?
Well, it's unfortunate where we have found ourselves as a people today. And I want to agree with you that the church, though has been doing its best has not been good enough. We need to do more, because I know there are some churches that will celebrate even if an armed robber comes to the church and offers whatever he has acquired illicitly. They will still celebrate such people. You have people who are in government, who are not doing well, come to church, we celebrate them. These are some of the ills that have been affecting us as a people before. But I think we have got to the point now that, look, let's call a spade a spade. Let's speak the truth to ourselves. If you are not doing well, you are not doing well. And the truth must be told. So if we are able to do this, I'm sure people will have a rethink before they engage themselves in such evil again.
I know you're Bishop of the African Church. Could you give us an idea what that entails? Does that mean that there's a bigger group of where you come together and have conversations on maybe a way forward? Because sometimes it's always good. I know. I've spoken to some people from Orthodox churches, and they always say these Pentecostals are the problem. They're the ones that have bastardized Christianity. You just made it all about partying and celebration and everything, that it's really gone away from the real crux of what Christianity is about. So as that body, you know, the African church, somebody at that high level, what do you think we can do to begin to change the message and to get people to have a weightier perspective to the things of God?
Yes, the African church is an Orthodox church, and it belongs to the Christian Association of Nigeria. It's also a block in Cannes. That is, it belongs to Christian Council of Nigeria, CCN. As a body, we come together to discuss and fashion out solutions to some of these problems that are staring us in the face from time to time. And we issue our statements, you know, to government and to whoever is concerned to know what to do at the appropriate time.
Well, let me pause you for a second. But do you think Cannes has been responsible? Because, I mean, you're saying, we've seen how Cannes has been very vicious in their utterance sometimes. Yes, I think they're calmer now. But there was a time that Cannes was in the papers everywhere. So do you think Cannes should have taken a more calmer perspective? Or do you think that sledgehammer approach was right at the time?
You see, maybe it's the way you are looking at it. Okay. It's not as if Cannes is not speaking out. Cannes is really speaking out. They are addressing a lot of issues in this country. And like I said before, it's one thing for you to say what should be said, and it's another thing for the person you're talking to accept what you're saying or to do accordingly. So that's just the issue. Cannes is doing its best.
So I want to bring the message of hope. We've said it several times that the only thing we have right now in this country is hope. And sometimes it's a bit worrisome when we go to the church and we look to our religious leaders and even they are lamenting. So it's like, well, where will we now get hope from? But you have a few minutes now. I would like you to inspire and give us a message of hope, something for us to. Yes.
Yes, I will urge all Nigerians, in spite of all that we are passing through at the moment, not to give up. God is the ultimate. He knows everything and he has answers to all our problems. Let's continue to cry unto him. The Israelites, faced similar problems and they got out of it. There was a time they were in bondage and God, released them. God set them free. Right. So it's like we are in bondage in Nigeria now. Right. And if you cry unto God, truly, faithfully, He will set us free.
All right. Thank you very much. We have to run, unfortunately. There you have it. So let us cry unto the Lord. Yeah. He will set us free from this bondage. Yeah. So that's all we can take. Right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, 28 states in Nigeria are likely to experience severe flooding this year. Aside from possible displacement of people from their homes and farms, floods with attendant health risks are going to cause quite a bit of problems for Nigerians across the state. So joining us on the show right now is the chairman, House of Representative Committee on Ecological Fund, Honorable Ibrahim Isiaka. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
I'm very here with you. Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. So based on these reports from NEMA, that's the National Emergency Management Agency, who has warned us of the fact that 28 states are going to experience severe flooding. As member of the House of Rep, whose oversight function is on ecological funds, how has it been adequately utilized to prevent disaster in the case of flooding, severe flooding in Nigeria?
Oh, well, thank you very much for that question and for that information. And good morning to everyone in the studio, good morning to all our viewers at home. I'm very delighted to make a few contributions, especially at this moment that the rainy season are staring us in the face. I'll first of all want to give you a short background history of the ecological fund so that I'll be able to dissect both what ecological fund means and that of normal erosion and flood control as we have in the Federal Ministry of Environment and as we have in all the various state ministries in our various states and that of the local government. You see, ecological fund is just an intervention fund which was created from 1981 and then it has undergone a lot of administrative guidelines. But basically, in the wisdom of the federal government at that time, we considered that such an intervention, 2% from the consolidated revenue of the federation account and 1% of the derivation allocation to be set aside to address emergencies in terms of ecology, flooding, drought, desertification, oil spillage, general environment pollution, I think storms, tornadoes, bushfires, crop pests, landslides, earthquakes. So basically, at this point, you now know that we have the controllable and uncontrollable. When I say the controllable, that is the human ecology, those we cause by ourselves. Okay, you and I, by dumping refuse into the drainage to block it, and perhaps maybe some abandoned sites where excavation may have taken place and the water want to find its way. So now the uncontrollable ones, which we may say acts of God, which most times is being referred to as force majeure, when a lot of activities are not able to take place. So
having dissected both now, based on the advice from Meteorological Office and many other coordinating agencies of the government, you will see that Nigeria, when you look at the map, the belt at which we lay, you see the rainfall makes it very heavy in this area where Nigeria lies in Africa and even the world. But the question is it the rain, is it the flood that is disturbing us, or we are creating inadvertently environment for this flood and rain to come and disturb us? If they are warning us that 27 states, because in fact, every day if you are monitoring this agency, they always give reports about weather conditions, being it rain, sunshine, not only in Nigeria, in other parts of Africa and in the world at large. By their prediction and assessment, they have seen that a lot of states will be affected by the rain coming very soon. So, if you now ask how well prepared is federal government and the House Committee on Ecological Fund, first and foremost, I want to tell you that the wisdom of the leadership of the House, headed by our Igbo Speaker, this is the first time a committee will be created in the House of Representatives called Ecological Committee. It is a green committee. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, so it's a green committee, and I'm the pioneer chairman. So barely the committee is relatively about 2 years old. And being that as it may, immediately the committee was created, we hit the ground running.
Okay.
Immediately. And hitting the ground running, I further want to tell you that the 28 states that have been projected that may be affected by rain or flood. I want you to know that the Ecological Fund is an intervention fund to address emergencies. Whereas we have in the Ministry of Environment, the agencies of government that are primed, established to prevent, make mitigation or control the environment where it is being predicted that there is
all right, let me pause you for a second. Tope, go ahead, please.
Okay, please. You just clarified something for us now that the Ecological Fund is only available for emergencies. My thought was the Ecological Fund was meant to address ecological crises, like things like what happens in the East where we have gullies. Those are they are due to nature. It's not any human being that is causing it. And the rainfall would worsen those gullies. There are videos and pictures of roads that have literally collapsed along the eastern side of Nigeria. Those are ecological crises. Are those areas that your committee oversee? Are there ways you can direct funds to support those areas to prevent the major crisis that would happen when this rain we're expecting starts falling?
They are very hard. Unfortunately, this time may not be true enough to explain too many things. I told you initially that 2% from consolidated revenue and 1% from derivation allocation, making 3%. Out of this 3%, the federal government allocation is just 1%. The state government takes 0.72%, and they share it as part of their federal allocation every month. The 774 local governments we have in the country, they take 0.60%, and they take it every month as part of their federal allocation. Now, out of the 1% that belongs to the federal government, we have agencies of government like NEMA. That's why I said emergency. We have NEMA, we have Northeast Development Commission, we have the Nigerian Great Green Wall. All these agencies of government, they take from the only 1% that belongs to the federal government. Wow. Now we, as National Assembly, the committee, based on the commissioner's provision, we will now be able to know that the one we can directly oversight is the one that belongs to the federal government, which is the 1%.
Right.
And that is what the federal government now go around the federation, including that of the southeast, south-south, and northeast, north-central, that they're trying to intervene on this ecological challenge.
Right. Okay.
Yes, a take home, I want to agree with you. Since I assumed office as chairman, based on the evaluation we have taken, assessment, southeast is the most affected because little do we have human ecology challenges. It is naturally a natural disaster, sort of like landslide. So all of a sudden, you know, the soil in the area can just ease in. So these are natural ones.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I noticed that over the years, when this flood happens, the sector that's worst hit or most hit is usually the agricultural sector, because we have farms that are flooded. And since we're planning or we're trying to, you know, prevent or get ready for emergencies at the time, is there any sort of advice or package that will be given to these farmers to help them? First of all, why I mentioned advice is to help them so that you can tell them that there are certain things that are expected for them to do so that they don't fall into the flooding, or they can help themselves stay away from flooding. And if the flooding happens, like the natural occurrence that you have no control over, is there any package that would help them cushion the effects?
Thank you very much for that. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier, and I want to repeat that. I'm sorry. NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, we even have them as SEMA, State Emergency Management Agency. NEMA takes 20% from the federal government's allocation of 1%. So this 20% to NEMA is part of the consolidated revenue, income budget into NEMA. So specifically, you'll agree with me that everything you have said so far falls within what NEMA in the past years have been doing. But inadvertently, maybe it's not known to the public or to everyone that apart from the normal appropriation by the National Assembly into NEMA to carry out the assigned responsibility under the provision that created NEMA, NEMA also takes 20% of the ecological fund federal government allocation. NEMA still takes it every month. So when you see any of these you have mentioned, you'll agree with me the intervention programs that NEMA have been undertaking, like for this agriculture, for these people that maybe a flood have been taking away their housing, they go there to supply them with roofing materials, sheet materials, bedding, and not so. It has been part of the funds they have been deriving from ecological funds, NEMA.
Okay. All right, point taken.
Now, yes.
So,
I don't know if you understand.
Yes, we get it.
You see, government these days is work in progress. I'm very glad that you have brought something to our attention. Basically, the way the ecological fund, the 1% for the federal government was designed, basically, like I said, is just for intervention. Just for intervention.
Right.
So where states or local are not able to cover, and we see that the life-threatening or property or
support.
that
Okay.
we have said we agree.
Yeah. I think we get that. Yes, go ahead, Mara.
So recently, I found that many committees have been set up at the National Assembly where they are looking into how monies that were allocated for different projects, different relief funds, how they have eventually been used, you know, asking for accountability. The reason I ask this is because every year we talk about this flooding, we almost mention the same 28 states, you know, and we know that in different ways, as you have mentioned, the percentages that goes out to the state NEMA and to the state emergency agencies, do you take the time to, audit and find out how these things have been, how these funds have been used over time, and to see if there are any things that needs to be done better, so that by next time we have a conversation concerning flooding emergencies, it will be based on things that were already done and done better, and then things that we may need to add. I hope you get my question.
I did. Thank you very much. And I think I'm afraid somebody has given you kind of a review about our working and what we as a committee discussed the last time we met. You see, we have reviewed the entire situation, and as much as we cannot directly oversight the state government, we can oversight the state and we cannot oversight the local government, but we have the Accountant General of the Federation, where this collector fund money is being domiciled. So he shares the money at the FAT every month, and he has been giving us reports about how this money was being shared. We know that there will always be rooms for improvement, and part of the gaps is what we have noticed. And we have designed a strategy that we are going to go around the entire state of the Federation. We are going to divide ourselves to see how we are going to see this. You see, it's a partnership in progress project. So how we are going to speak the audience with the state executives and see areas that we can improve. There will always be areas of improvement. Don't forget that before now, everyone used to take ecological funds as if it was a slush fund. They'll be taking it as a free fund. But you can agree with me that these days, everybody is talking about ecological fund because it is being put on the front burner, being transparently utilized based on conditional assessments on where they want to spend this money. I'm sorry to say that people have been taking it as a secret fund before, but now it's
well, we're actually happy to know that the 8th Assembly is taking this issue of ecological fund quite seriously. That's good to know. But I know we have run out of time, and I can't let you go without you touching a bit on the issue of subsidy. I know that you've spent about 21 years in the petroleum industry, and it would be great to hear your thoughts, because I am actually very worried that day in, day out, I keep reading on the front page of the papers that the country is set to remove subsidy. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought we've done this in 2018, 2019. So could you give us some clarity? Based on the reports I saw in Punch today, they were saying that the issue of subsidy was not allocated for in the 2021 budget. Fair enough. But now say that it's being paid through NNPC. Could you give us some kind of clarity? What does that even make sense? And how and when will Nigerians know if indeed subsidy has been removed?
Well, as a legislator, I think what I'm going to say is not the position of the House. But I'm going to say what I feel ought to have been done or that we can still do. Having been part of that industry, in fact, okay, I've been in that environment since 1994, 95. And coming to the National Assembly, I'm too surprised that things have not changed. We're in this kind of situation whereby all we need to do, number one, the PIGB, that is Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which the two principal heads of the chambers, that's the Speaker and that of the Senate, have promised the country that we are going to make sure it is speedily passed. With that, we are laying a good foundation for these myriads of challenges in terms of subsidy or no subsidy. Then secondly, I think this PIGB too will help us to address the food regulation of this industry. Don't forget that this is how Nigerians were entangled when NITEL was holding sway as the only monopolistic organization of the government controlling telecommunications in this country. And don't forget too that when we started this regulation and then private sectors came in, you and I were buying SIM cards at about 30,000, 40,000. What I want to appeal is that if this thing is fully deregulated, Nigerians will have to brace up at the initial conception when this thing will start. Definitely, there will be myriads of complaints because the petrol will not be sold at this current price. But what I can say is that by the grace of God, if there is no any underlying, if there is no any undue interference, because most of our challenges is policy catapults, you see, or policy somersaults. If there is no any undue interference in the system, you will see that almost the same way that telecoms has been reduced to this standard where we are in terms of cost and expenditure. The petrol and petroleum products will always be similar. Take one barrel of crude and look at the derivatives we normally get from it. But we take only our crude, we send them abroad. Aside that, I know the PIGD is going to help us to eliminate. We have 445,000 barrels of crude allocated for local refining. That's for domestic local refining. But our refineries are not working. So it's not about whether they should remove subsidy. There are so many things that we know that government should help us address. The allocation for local refining, that one should just be out of the state. Then secondly, we have more than 50 to 60 people holding various licenses for modular refineries in this country. And they are not using them. They are not utilizing them. So, what are they holding back all these licenses for modular refineries? So that's why I said once the industry is fully deregulated,
right,
those who are holding our licenses will be forced to make use of it by establishing their own refineries and then producing crude.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Another petroleum product in the country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Isiaka. I just couldn't resist the temptation of asking you your thoughts on this, but thank you so much for your contribution this morning. That's all we can take on the show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.